Welcome, everyone, to episode number 2 of eWisdom Wednesday. This week, we're going to demystify marketing. We're going to take 5 easy steps to success, and we're even going to cure a case of the Mondays. Now, let's turn our attention to the first piece of eWisdom for the week. This one is about marketing. So, here it is. And it goes something like this. Being a marketer is like being a spy. Nobody knows what you do for a living. Is it just me, or is there cause for concern here? If this is a true statement and nobody knows what marketers do for a living, keep in mind this is an entire industry. It brings up the really uncomfortable questions about, well, do we even need them? Of course we need them. And it is a discipline that is actually really well understood. Marketing, as a function, has the responsibility to identify, understand, quantify, and interact with the markets the company is ultimately serving. Within that umbrella, there are a whole bunch of very clear and well-defined responsibilities. They do things like content creation, they do things like PR, social media coordination, lead tracking and generation, events, market sizing and analytics, segmentation and demographics. That's a list that didn't really try too hard to come up with, and there's many, many more. Now, if you want a really fun time, ask around. See if you can figure out what a product owner or product operations manager or even data scientist or sales enablement specialist or CISO or DevOps engineer do. I guarantee you the answers you'll get back from those will be way fuzzier and way more varied than if you ask what a marketer does. Now, maybe some of you have jobs that people have a hard time putting their finger on and really understanding what they're about. What are they? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe we're all spies. We're going to chalk that one up as amusing and good for a laugh, but not profoundly full of wisdom. All right, next up is a graphic. Here we go. Let's see what we've got here. Well, we have a staircase. We have an arrow going up the staircase and a person on the bottom step. Clearly, they are about to make some progress here. This is 5 steps to success. And step 1 is try. Step 2 is try again. Step 3 is try once more. Step 4, try it again tomorrow. And step 5 is finally, nope, it's not success. It is just keep trying until you succeed. Okay. Now, I can see where they're trying to go with this. Not everything worth pursuing in life is going to be a resounding success the first time you try it. And it's often the case that the things that are most worthwhile, you're going to get wrong a whole lot on the way to getting them right. It's also the case that for everything in your life you've ever done, there was a time you'd never done it before, but you figured it out anyway. So I get not letting the fear of failure stand in the way of your progress, and that you will occasionally need to try, fail, learn, and progress towards the goal. However, this visual really doesn't do anything to emphasize any of those points, at least for me. It seems like a lot of bars, words, arrows for what is a simple enough message. Some things, they take practice, so practice and improve. I think that's all it said. Did I miss something? It also carries with it the underlying message that you can do anything as long as you keep failing enough and learning and trying enough. And unfortunately, that's simply not true. For example, I can keep trying as long as I want to lift my car over my head. I will probably get stronger. But I guarantee you, I will never be strong enough to do that. Okay, but how about in business? Well, certainly more is possible. It is likely, though, that no matter how much you try, you are unlikely to become the CEO of the company that you work for. guess what? That seat is taken. And in my experience, the people who sit in those chairs aren't super keen about giving them up. And it doesn't really matter whether they're terrible at it or not. So maybe let's look a little bit more humbly. You've been assigned an activity. You've got a job to do. You've never done it before, and you are learning as you go. I think we've all been in that situation before. If your company culture has at all emerged from the Stone Age, and I really hope it has, there is probably some room for you to try, fail, learn, try again. And if not, there really should be, and you should be maybe looking for another corporate culture. However, in any company, that can't possibly be endless because it's expensive having people stand up and run as hard as they can until they slam into a wall, fall down over and over and over again without ever achieving the outcome that the activity was supposed to drive. Now, at some point, you need to bring in help, or maybe hand the task to someone else, or possibly, with some humility, admit defeat because you're throwing bad money after, well, bad money. I'd also like to point out that there's a management failure that has occurred there if that happens. Letting someone throw themselves against the ramparts over and over and over again without success is demoralizing and defeating for that purpose. And what might start as determination to succeed will eventually give way to anxiety and insecurity. And those in turn will give way to humiliation. And humiliation is going to give way to isolation, and that is simply not a good outcome. That's not good for anybody. Still, there is a message in here that is worth paying attention to, and that is that you won't always be successful with everything you do on the first attempt. In fact, most often, you won't be successful on the first attempt. And that doesn't mean it isn't worth risking and accepting and learning from the things that don't work while you set yourself up for that eventual success. But it just means that you need enough situational awareness and self awareness to realize when you just need some help. And everyone, everyone, sooner or later, just needs a little help. Now, I know I've been guilty at trying perhaps too many times before accepting help. We can all be a little proud sometimes, or defeat, particularly when I was early on in my career and I kind of had that I can't fail because people will see me as a failure kind of attitude. But how about you? Have you spent too much time and energy chasing a goal that remained out of reach for you? I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so let's look at the last piece of eWisdom for this week. Here we go. Culture is how employees' hearts and stomachs feel about Monday morning on Sunday night. Okay, okay. I have to admit, I actually really like this one. And I can look back at my own career and I can pick out jobs where I had a case of the Mondays that started on Sunday in anticipation of what the work week was going to look like and how much stress, strain, and slog I was going to feel with a certain amount of futility for good measure. One case, I know for myself, I let it go on far too long, years in that case, and that was to my own detriment as well as the family's. But on the flip side, I've also had jobs where Sunday night wasn't filled with apprehension and nausea, but with the excitement and enthusiasm of really getting going and sinking in and making a difference. And Bill Marklein, I hope I'm pronouncing that somewhat okay, is correct. That was attributable to a culture where I felt that I, and everyone really, was valued. My contributions had an obvious impact, and everyone felt good about the work that they were doing and the mission that we were trying to support. Have you ever had that feeling? That feeling on Sunday that you're starting to become apprehensive about Monday, that, ugh, oh no, tomorrow's Monday. What is the beginning of this week gonna bring kind of feeling? Or maybe you just simply love where you were or where you are, hopefully, and you are excited to get back to it on Monday. Either way, tell me about your experiences. I'd love to know. Drop me a comment right down there. It's very easy to put a slick looking veneer over top of what is a terrible culture. And unfortunately, I've seen this at multiple companies, some I've worked for, some I've contracted for. You'll know the symptoms when you see them, when they can't really explain to you what their culture feels like, but they say things like, we have lots of events, or snacks, we have snacks, or free lunches for anyone who comes into the office, yada yada. The thing is, these look good and they're not horrible benefits, but they themselves don't do anything to change or actually even influence the environment that people are working in any meaningful way. But they do look good on recruiting posts. In the end, though, coming back to this particular piece of eWisdom, I think this may be one of the single best tests that a person can self administer to get a feel for how they fit in the work culture that they are in. Do you feel uneasy starting on Sunday? Or maybe you're excited and optimistic. If it's the former, maybe you should be looking for a culture that gives you the latter. And that is all for this week's eWisdom. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.